Welcome back, everybody. Bio Bros, episode 14. This one's going to be the Halloween special, even though it's going to come out a day late. But we're going to talk about some scary animals and then a little bit about them and what makes them scary and what makes them actually not all that scary in reality. So, we're recording this on Halloween, actually. So, I'm in costume right now. It's going to be a fun one. So, we're going to start off with most people's scariest thing. If you have a pet snake, somebody's asked you, is it poisonous? And we all know that one. Venom versus poison. That's a whole different episode. But it's venomous snakes. So both of us have had experiences with this and just even being in reptiles. Everybody thinks everything's venomous and gonna kill you. So we're gonna talk about those, why they're scary, why they're not scary, if you know how to deal with it, and just stuff like that. So Alex, start off with your experience with some of them.
So the majority of my experience when it comes to like actually dealing with the public and venomous snakes comes from my current job because I work at a park, or which it's a lake, but there's a lot of woods around the lake and stuff. So we have a lot of copperheads, which is the only venomous species we have in my area. Um, but at least my specific area. The copperheads, everyone's always scared of them. Everyone's like, "Oh, what if there's a copperhead? Oh, what if I'm swimming and I see a copperhead?" Or not swimming, but what if I'm kayaking and see a copperhead? Or what if there's one on the trail? Blah blah blah. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, they're so scary." Copperheads are not scary. At least they don't scare me. I don't think they should scare people. Um, they if you don't mess with them, they're not gonna mess with you. They're not Snakes don't chase people. They don't go after you or anything. They're more likely to run from you if you go near it, or they'll freeze. And as long as you do not mess with them, they will not mess with you. Um, that and copperheads, or their venom is not very potent. So unless you were allergic to it, most people give like Benadryl at the hospital for, depending on the severity of the bite, obviously, and things like that. But they just don't really mess with people, and they're not going to try and bite you or like anything like that. And I did see this earlier this year, actually. It's a statistical fact that copperhead bites, I think it was like 80% or 85% of copperhead bites or something like that, some high percentage of copperhead bites. Actually, no, it was 90% of copperhead bites are because somebody was messing with the snake, touching the snake, trying to pick it up, trying to move it, or had just killed the snake and grabbed the head, because they can still bite you after they've had their head cut off, because the nerves still fire. But 90% of copperhead bites were because of someone either messing with the snake or just killed it and got bit after grabbing the head thinking it was dead. Only 10% of copperhead bites were actually from someone accidentally stepping on a snake. So it is so unlikely. I mean, 1 out of 10 times you might step on a snake and accidentally get bit. But it's very unlikely for you to step on a snake and get bit. As long as you are not messing with it, staying on marked trails and things like that, or really looking where you are, making a lot of noise as you're walking through, maybe have a walking stick, they're not going to bug you. They're not going to come after you. There's really no reason to be scared of them.
Yeah, and where I'm from, we have mostly rattlesnakes. We have one coral snake, but it's rattlesnakes. People are very scared of rattlesnakes. They're like, oh, they hear it rattle and they think it's going to get them. No, the rattle is saying, hey, man, please stay away from me. I don't want anything to do with you. Just because the rattlesnake can kill you does not mean that it wants to. What's it going to do after it kills you, right? It bites you, has enough venom to potentially kill you, and even then, really doesn't. Untreated bites have a very high survival rate still. So now what does it do? Nothing. It can't eat me. So it doesn't want to kill me. But what it does know is I can kill him. And so he does not want anything to do with it. They're going to rattle her and say, please go away from me. So what you should do if you hear a rattlesnake ever is freeze. He won't bite you if you're frozen. It's just he will not do it. They know what they're doing. Find the snake and then respect his space. Say, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean I was getting too close to you. Just go around. Won't bite you. Totally cool." And then another thing too, people always say this one really seems to happen with cottonmouths. I hear it a lot that it chased me. Snake did not chase you. I've somebody who I don't remember who it was, but somebody I respect. They had I made a post on this topic. They're like, show me a video. If you can show me a video of a snake chasing after and attacking somebody, I'll believe it. Other than that, they're always acting in defense. There's no snakes that can actually eat a full-grown human. Now, the reticulated pythons have been known to have killed people before, and they have attempted to eat people before, and even like small children and stuff. But they're not hunting humans. They're not laying in your bed, sizing you up. You know how terrible of a hunting strategy that is, right? I'm gonna size you up, and I'm just gonna stay here
Yeah,
later.
I'm
Like,
gonna
it's just a
decide whether I want to eat you.
bad hunting strategy. They're not doing that. No snakes sizing you up, no snakes chasing you. It's just education is really what that one comes down to. Like, venomous snakes, yes, they're terrifying. They can kill you. And in all honesty, the thing that's most likely going to kill or seriously injure me is one of the animals we're talking about in here. That's because I make it my hobby and ideally my life's work to be messing with these, right? I want to be in there, I want to be interacting with them, and I understand I'm putting myself in that danger. But if you don't want to be in near dangerous animals, just don't go near them, and he'll be
Mhm.
totally fine. You'll never get bit by a venomous snake. Just you never will. Even if you step on them. There's a study currently going on here still where a the lead venomous guy at the Phoenix Herpetological Sanctuary, he is he made a robot leg and he goes out into the desert and he steps on rattlesnakes and then he just records what happens. And it's insane the amount of snakes that don't even rattle. It's like 70% of them either do nothing or try to flee. Then like 20% rattle and do nothing. And then that last, I think it's like 5 or 10% ish actually strike. That's it. You can go step on snakes and they won't even bite you. Snakes are not aggressive. They're just happen to have venom. And yeah, it is dangerous, but they don't want to use it.
I will say now, when you talk about the snakes stepping on bite or not biting rattlesnakes, there was actually a study recently between copperheads versus rattlesnakes, and doing that, and the copperhead was a lot more likely to bite than a rattlesnake was. Um, like just like you said, rattlesnakes really don't bite or even rattle half the time. Like if you step on them, the copperheads most of the time, if you they are getting stepped on, they're gonna bite.
Oh yeah,
But
there's
like I
definitely
said,
differences.
oh yeah, it depends on the species. But again, if you're making noise while walking through the woods or staying on the cleared paths or using a walking stick and things like that, the likelihood of you actually stepping on a snake, very little. Because you making all that noise and stuff, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I hear that. Let's go away."
Yeah, even more flighty snakes or snakes that are dangerous and like to bite, like mambas, for example. Mambas are very, very dangerous. Venomous snake keepers everywhere kind of are on the same page of the most dangerous snakes to handle are mambas. They're
Hmm.
long, they're fast, and they're not hesitant to bite.
They're super
We
intelligent.
recently, yeah, very, very smart too. They will analyze your mistake and they'll get you. But even then, they don't want to bite you. If they hear a person walking near a bush that they're in, they're not gonna leap out of the bush and bite you. They're just gonna be like, "Nope, not going in there." The reason they're dangerous to handle is because they don't like being touched. They don't like it when you're messing with them, and that's fair. Animals are like people too. They all have personalities, and mambas happen to not like to be touched. Sure, everyone's got a friend that you mess with them a little bit, you know, like, poke them and they freak out a bit, and you're like, "Oh, I didn't know you didn't I thought I was joking. I didn't know you were not cool with that. Okay, we won't do that anymore." Same thing with all the animals, especially snakes. Some of them,
Hmm.
just leave them alone, and you're totally fine. So, we'll move on to the second one here that I think is scary, personally, is centipedes. Centipedes, they're probably the only animal I would say actually scares me. They I do not like them. I respect them. I don't wanna touch one, though. If you say, "Hey, Shaw, you have to catch this centipede," I'm gonna be like, "Nah, I think that's somebody else's job."
Yeah.
They're very fast, very defensive. I don't like the word aggressive, and just goes for animals in general. I don't like aggressive because what really comes out of the blue and attacks people? Nothing really. They Animals have been around people for a long time. They know we're dangerous, and we're big. Humans are very big animals, so we're bigger than most of these things. So I don't like the word aggressive, but defensive definitely works. Centipedes, they're very defensive. They even think you looked at them funny. They're down to fight.
Hmm.
They're like, oh, they're definitely choose fight over flight a lot of the time, and they won't kill you or anything, but they have some pretty serious venom still. It's gonna ruin your day. It's gonna ruin 3 or 4 days,
Ruin your
and
month.
not fun. Yeah, uh, so I'll just little story I have about them. I go into my local reptile store, and I'm a fairly frequent customer there, like, the owners stuff, they know me, and owner runs in, and he is clearly rattled, and I'm like, "Dude, what's up? You good?" And he's like, one of his employees took out a Vietnamese giant centipede to show a customer, and he was handling it, and somehow or another, he ended up getting bit by it, and the owner of the store was there too, so he was very rattled that the whole thing went down. He's like, "My employee is gonna get hurt." Like, he was scared he's gonna have a poor reaction to it and have to go to the hospital and stuff. This poor customer is now terrified, and now I'm gonna get sued. It was a whole disaster. And then I came in a few weeks later, restocked my food. Owner was there again, and the guy that got bit. And so I was like, "Oh, dude, what happened? Who got bit and what's up?" Turns out for about 3 days, his hand just was on fire, felt terrible. No good. But again,
Hmm.
that was a guy messing with a centipede. It wasn't anything. I've encountered dozens and dozens of the second biggest centipede in the world that happens to live here. Arizona has terrifying bugs. All of our bugs are just evil looking, and I've encountered tons of them. Never been bitten because I leave them alone. I flip over a rock and there's one under there. I'm like, "I'm sorry, that is your rock. I'm gonna leave." I see their defensive posture and I say, "You know what? I get it, man. I don't wanna fight you either." And
You own
we just
this rock.
yeah, we part our ways. I don't Not for me. Definitely not something I really see myself keeping as a pet, but they're
No, I
they're scary creatures. They won't really kill you, they're not anything to be in fear of, but they'll get your heart rate going when you stumble upon one you didn't know one was there.
I also am fearful of, not fearful, but like uncomfortable when it comes to centipedes. And this one's more of a funny story, like because I have a story with centipedes too, more than like a scary story. But I was visiting my grandmother who lives in Michigan, and she has like, if you think of an old style basement, not like a dark, creepy or anything like it, just old basement. Like it's well lit and stuff, but it's just old. That's her basement. And I was using the bathroom down there, which we call the murder bathroom because it's just a shower curtain and a couple of bare walls around it, around the toilet. And I was finished up or whatever, was getting ready to wash my hands, and I see one of those, the silverfish.
Yeah, like those
Um,
little house centipedes that they have up there. We
yeah,
don't have
they
them
like
here,
get
but,
like
like, I know
really long
yeah.
legs. They almost look hairy.
Yeah, they've got those
And I was,
big, like, knees almost, like
oh yeah, and this sucker was every bit of 3 inches, which for those things is big. And
yeah,
I
that's
was
that's
like,
huge. That's a
okay.
unit.
Yeah, I was like, okay, you stay over there. And then it bolted. My parents have never seen me come running out of a basement so fast because I don't, they can't even hurt you. They just creep me out. Nope. I moved so quickly because I did not like that he bolted at me.
Yeah, all those legs, and then you're already in the basement, like, they're
And they're
alien-looking
lightning
scary
fast.
creatures. Yeah, you're in your grandma's basement, like, come on.
They're so
Like
fast too.
how
Like
do you
it's like
not
one
get scared
second
by
they're
that?
there, the next they're right next to you.
Yeah, they're definitely scary creatures. Still, nothing you should
Wild rat.
fear, nothing you should kill ever. They're awesome pest control, really. They
Yeah, I
they're
mean
predators. They hide away. You don't even know they're there, and those
they keep out pests.
everything. They're great. Yeah, nothing you should fear, but well, you'll fear them when you think you see you when you think it's staying put, and then you look over and it's gone. But they're not going to hurt you. Nothing to worry about.
As long as the big ones who bite stay out of the house, it's cool.
Yeah, and even then, as long as you just respect their space, you're all good.
Yeah, no, I centipedes. Nope. Um, Now I think so. My second one, because I know we kind of did the joint one for the first one. My second one is going to be. You know what? I'm gonna do this one instead of my last one. So rats. Lots of people get the heebie-jeebies from rats. They think, ooh, they're nasty. Ooh, they're dirty. Oh, they eat trash. They carry disease. They'll bite. Blah blah blah. They're just a lot. A lot of people too. It's just the tail, which I don't understand the fear around that. But like, just the tail itself freaks them out. Like, if it didn't have a tail, they'd be like, oh, it's cute, but it has the tail, and they're like, nope. But rats in wild rats, yes, they can carry diseases. They can bite. They can um like just be going through trash and things like that, and they will fight. I've seen them fight dogs. Um,
Yeah, I mean, even just a couple hundred years ago, rats. I mean, technically the fleas from the rats, but without the rats, there wouldn't have been the fleas. Killed a third of Europe. It
oh
is
yeah,
a reason, totally reasonable thing to think they carry disease.
oh yeah,
Like
it
that
is
is
a
100%
very
reasonable.
it is 100% reasonable. But yes, like I said, wild rats do can carry diseases and stuff, and they will most if it's another dog, like a dog or something, they might fight it. They won't really fight you. They will run. Um, they're way more terrified of you than they are of them. But pet rats, which I have experience with because I had three female rats last year's when they passed away. So I had them for like about 2 years because they're not very long lived either. I think their average lifespan in captivity is like 2 to 5 years or something like that. Um, but they're very sweet, cuddly, chill animals. They're amazing pets. Um, the only thing with them is that you do have to their keep their tank really really clean because their pee does smell. If you don't clean it like weekly, it will fill your room. Um, but they're actually very very clean animals. Like they are constantly sitting there and cleaning themselves. They will clean their food. They'll clean themselves, their little enclosure, everything. They do not. They're not a dirty animal. They're not like running around in filth or rubbing in filth or rubbing themselves in filth. No, they're sitting there cleaning themselves all the time. And especially pet rats are very sweet and lovable animals. I think of the 2 years that I owned all three, which I had three girls, there's also a distinct difference between males and females. Females are more of like, okay, I'll let you hold me and I'll chill for a little bit, but now I'm done. I want to go do my own thing. Males are the ones that are like, okay, I want to cuddle. Um, but I had three females, and in the 2 years that I owned them, I think I got bit once, and that's because she was going for a blueberry in my fingers. She just accidentally got the finger instead. Um, but they are not an animal to fear. I don't think. Um, they can cause damage to your house and things like that. So like having the wild ones in the house and stuff obviously isn't good because they can chew through wires and stuff. But again, they're way more scared of you than you are of them. They are not going to attack you. They are not purposely spreading disease or anything like that. Um, and they
Yeah.
like just are very cute little fuzzy animals, basically.
Yeah, and I'll chime in on that one too, on like the disease part is people tend to I hear this one with bats a lot. Arizona has a lot of bats. We get a lot of migratory species in the winter. And
Mhm.
so bats, they say, are carriers of rabies. Your skunks are carriers of Lyme disease. Rats are carriers of who knows what. Everyone says something different. Okay, they are carriers of that. So are you. So is
Yeah.
your dog. So is every other mammal for a lot of diseases. Just because they can carry it does not mean they do. And then even if they do, modern medicine is a lot different than it was back in the day. Nowadays, it is pretty hard to get legitimately sick on a lot of these things that the animals supposedly carry. So,
Mhm.
worst case scenario, you get bit and get infected with something, just go to the doctor real quick. You're fine. They'll fix you right up. Even rabies. If you are to get bit by a bat that confirmed has rabies, yeah, rabies is a terrible disease if you let it ride, but just don't do that. Go right to the doctor. Rabies vaccines are insanely effective.
They do
You'll be
suck
fine.
though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not fun,
It's
but
like 8 shots to the stomach from what I remember. If it's still that. I don't know if it still is, but I knew it was like 8 very long needles into the stomach.
yeah, but you'll be fine. Like, it's
Hey, you'll live.
you're totally good. Unless there's some insane, crazy one-off thing that isn't what you should base your life on anyway, you'll be okay. So, just because rats can carry disease doesn't mean they do. Most rats are actually healthy.
Mhm.
Just like most people are actually healthy, and most people don't have Lyme disease. Most rats don't either. Armadillos, that's the other one too. People say armadillos have Lyme disease. If every
No,
armadillo
it's
had
not.
Lyme
It's
disease, they'd all be
not
dead.
Lyme disease. It's a
No,
lepto.
yeah, leprosy too.
Leprosy. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, they're saying that armadillos have leprosy. It's like, no, they don't. No, they don't.
No, they
Just
actually do.
because, well,
They're
not every
actually
single.
confirmed carrier of leprosy, but it's not. They are infected with it. They're just like how um what is it called? It's like how when a person can have a disease but not actually be affected by it. That's how they are with leprosy.
Yeah, but that still doesn't mean every single one in all existence has it.
No.
It just means that they could have it, and you might not even know.
Well, unless you eat them, you're not going to get it from them.
Yeah, it's nonsense saying that animals are carriers of whatever in
Yeah,
general.
because it's
Can it happen? Yes. All right, so we'll move on to my last one. And that one's going to be sharks. Sharks. This one actually, I think, has the most reason to be feared of. Actually, it's a little backwards from other people. A lot of people say like, "Oh, there's nothing to fear in animals." Sharks, some species of them, and that's the only ones we're really going to focus on. Obviously, the little tiny sharks are not anything to fear at all. They cannot hurt you. But like a tiger shark, bull shark, uh, that kind of stuff, the big ones, they can eat you, and you are big enough. Well, they are big enough to look at you and say, "Maybe I want to eat them." That is totally a thing that is true, and it can happen. But you are big enough that you're going to be worked. They're not going to really want to eat you, and you're weird. We are not aquatic. We don't look like food. They're gonna be more curious of us than anything and be like, "What is that thing? That's weird." And they're probably not gonna eat you because 'cause you're unfamiliar, right? It's like a little kid or even people now, you travel to different countries, you see their different foods, and you're like, that food looks weird. I'm Yeah, you know what? I'll stick to food I know." Animals do the same thing. You're not food they know. They don't necessarily want to eat you, but they can. That is a thing that is true. And then the other thing to know is just be mindful when you're in the water. Dive with a buddy and make sure you're scanning the area. You're being smart. Just
Mhm.
general shark safety tips. Super easy, basic stuff. Just being aware of your surroundings. Saying if there's a bunch of sharks in there swimming around in a there's what I have been taught about how to dive in the Bahamas where sharks are everywhere. There's kind of four levels to how sharks behave. Level one is just cruising, just breathing basically, because a lot of these sharks need to continue to move to breathe. They're basically just breathing. Level two is moving with intent. They're moving somewhere on purpose. They say, I want to go over here. Level two. Level three is they got a little twitch in them. They move and they move fast and they're looking for something usually. That's kind of like hunting behaviors. They're tracking something down. They're moving with some pace. They want to go. And level 4 is where it gets extreme, right at you, mouth open. All the way up to level 3, totally safe, nothing to worry about. Level 3, feel out your situation. And if it's something you're not comfortable with being around sharks, maybe get out of the water. Level 4, you miss levels 1 through 3. Sharks aren't just gonna blindside you mouth open for no reason. So be aware of that, and then be aware of what's in the water too. Like, are you spearfishing? So is there blood in the water? Yeah, that's gonna instantly take a shark from level 1 to bare minimum level 3. So be aware of that. Are you making a bunch of noise, wearing shiny stuff? Are you doing things that are gonna get a shark mad at you? That'll get to level 3, and then that level 4 can happen, but it really doesn't still. Look how many shark attacks, said in air quotes here, attacks. There really aren't many. Compared to how many sharks are in the water that you don't even see, sharks don't attack people. They aren't really looking to eat you. It can happen, but if you're safe about it, totally fine. And you do not need to kill them at all. Please do not do that. They're very, very good for our ecosystem. They're totally fine. They want nothing to do with you in reality. It's I don't like to tell people that things are totally not dangerous when they actually are. Yeah, sharks can eat you. Does it mean they're going to? No. Do you kinda have to put yourself in a situation that is going to be there? Yeah. You have to be in the water with specific species of sharks, acting in a specific way, and breaking some safety rules to get attacked by a shark. So, when you consider all of those 4 steps that you have to be breaking in order to potentially get attacked by a shark, are they really that dangerous? No. And then big sharks too need deep water. They're not gonna be at they're not really gonna be right up on the shore like that. Yes, it can happen in some areas, but the advantage to that is you can see them. Be like, "Oh, I'm just not going in the water. There's a big shark right there. Okay, I'll just completely eliminate my chances of getting attacked by a shark." Sharks can't attack you on land. Just completely avoid it, and you're all good.
Yeah, and I will say one thing with sharks too. From what I've heard and seen before, the majority of quote unquote attacks are really sharks are very curious animals like we are. But we have hands and fingers to touch things and be like, what is this? They have a mouth. That is how they use. That's what they use. It's like how we would go, oh, this is a can. Let me touch this and feel this and stuff. They do that with their mouth because that's the only thing they have to be able to do that with. So a
Yeah,
lot
and
of attacks, quote unquote, that I've seen are just the shark's curious, and it just sadly your arm cannot withstand their curiosity and a jaw, but they aren't actively trying to hurt you or hunt you, like Shaw was saying. They're just trying to feel you out and figure out what you are.
yeah, and something I've seen a lot of too is surprisingly, the best shark divers in the world, in my opinion, are all girls, and most of them are blonde girls too. Very interesting. Uh, they they do these techniques where they redirect sharks. So curious sharks are coming at them, trying to see what's up, trying to give them a nose bump, maybe even a little test bite, and they like redirect them and they kind of tell them, "No, I'm not something you want to eat." I don't know enough about exactly how those techniques and everything work to like fully explain it, but I do know enough to say they're not magic. They're not doing these magic moves that are gonna put the shark in magic immobility. Yes, sonic immobility is real, but that's not what they're doing. They're just saying, "Don't eat me," and they're really, really good at reading shark behavior. So that kind of stuff, if you do it right, eliminates those test bites too. Now you have to get a shark that's actively trying to kill you, and that's really hard to do. They don't want to kill you
Yeah.
pretty much all the time.
Most quote unquote attacks are either they're curious to what you are and trying to figure that out, or it's someone who's surfing and from underneath a person on a surfboard in a wetsuit looks like a seal. So that is their food source. So
Yeah, and again, just be shark aware if you're a surfer.
yeah,
You are, you're fine.
there you go. Especially nowadays, there's so much technology and stuff. Like surfers, really, in my opinion, before even going out, should fly a drone, fly it out over, look into the water, be like, okay, I don't see any sharks right now. Now I'm gonna go out and surf.
Yeah, and just
I'm not saying
little things like I've heard people keep who will keep their toes on the board, and then it makes you look just enough not like a seal that they'll pass you up, and
yep.
or don't go when there's a bunch of seals in the water too, because generally seals and sea lions aren't totally alone, so it's odd for you to be alone. So then the shark's gonna take a second glance at you rather than just taking an opportunity that's right there.
hmm Now,
Just
so for my last animal, I'm gonna do. It's gonna be a generalized one, but I'm gonna do tarantulas. Um, I know those are like a very, very feared animal by a lot of people because they're a big, scary spider. Um, Now, one statistical fact, or like one, not statistical, it's just a proven fact when it comes to tarantulas. There has never been a recorded death caused by a tarantula. So they have yet to have any person die by a tarantula bite. As well, they have yet to find any species of tarantula whose venom is anywhere near strong enough to actually physically fully harm your like your organs or something like that, or like actually harm you other than by putting you in pain.
yeah, they're all
Um
medically insignificant if I as long as I'm not missing one or
well,
two, but they're all
so old world
like
species are medically considered medically significant. Like my OBT or orange baboon tarantula is considered medically significant. But in reality, if she was to bite me and envenomate me, I'm just going to be in pain for the next couple of weeks, or possibly it can last a long time, but it's not going to kill you. It's just going to hurt a lot. Um, and the other difference too is old world versus new world, and a lot of people don't know what that is. New world is anything from the Americas, so like North America, Central America, and South America, and like the surrounding islands. And then old world is species from like Africa, Australia, Asia. Those species are what they consider old world. Um, Old world species tend to have more potent venom. New world species have less potent venom, but they have what they call um, urticating hairs, so they can kick hair at you that just feels like fiberglass when it gets into your skin. But like I said, no recorded. There's never been a recorded death by a caused by a tarantula, and even the species that have medically significant venom, um, it's not like it's gonna actually harm you as long as you aren't allergic to the venom. Obviously, there's exceptions, but again, no one's even died from it, even people who were allergic. But it's. I think the worst I've heard is that people have had pain that's lasted up to like 3 months.
yeah, I mean, fair enough, tarantulas are scary. We have a bunch of native species here too. Like I said earlier, Arizona, terrifying bugs. We have like all the scariest bugs ever. We have a lot of tarantulas here, and every time I've seen one in the wild, they just totally mind their own business. It would be work to get bit by them, or at
Oh
least get
yeah,
bit by them by accident.
no, yeah, tarantulas. I can't even think of a way you really could accidentally get bit by a tarantula
Yeah, the
because
only thing I could think of would be you're camping in a tent or
like
less
roll
than a
over
tent,
on
just a
it.
sleeping bag. It climbs into your sleeping bag, and you happen to move in a way that pins it, but doesn't kill it, and it feels like it has to bite you because it's trapped.
Which that's even such a so specific because they're
Yeah,
such a lot of people don't realize they're really really fragile animals to the point like I have a couple of new world species that a lot of people will handle all the time I don't particularly like the idea of handling them, just because not because I'm scared of them hurting me or uh, getting away or anything like that. Because mine's very calm or fairly calm, and they're just chill. But I'm worried about them getting hurt because if they fall 6 inches, they could be killed. You squish them at all, they could be killed. Go to grab them wrong, they could die. They are so fragile that I don't. It would be so difficult for even if you were sleeping in a sleeping bag and they climbed into it, for you to roll over and not squish it
Yeah, that's why it's like that's the only thing I could think of why you would get bitten by a tarantula. Which means
by
now,
accident.
yeah, by accident. Which means now we're back to square one with where we're at the venomous snakes, where
It's your
you
fault.
have to be messing with it to get bit by it. So if you don't want to get bit by it, don't mess with it. And you're totally good now.
Yeah, I've been told by coworkers and friends and stuff that I am both the best person to be around if you get bit by a venomous animal and the worst person because I will actively tell you you need to go to the hospital or exactly what you need to do or what you might be expecting. But at the same time, if it's something like you grabbed a venomous snake or you were messing with a spider and got bit, I'm still going to tell you you're an idiot while telling you how to save your life.
Yeah, it's your fault pretty much every time in the wild. But I'll bring on just some general closing notes here that I think it's kind of important to talk about. Is it is totally okay to be afraid of animals. It's 100% okay. All of us have fears that are rational or irrational, whatever. Like, I have a fear of being poisoned. I feel like people are out like, I feel like I'm gonna get poisoned. I don't trust doctors and stuff, like, I need them to tell me exactly what chemicals they're, like, injecting into me, so I
Mhm.
know how like, I feel like they're gonna mismeasure and kill me. That's nonsense. That's not a fear that I should actually be having, but I do, it's just something that happens.
Yeah, it's
And
like me
so it's
with wolf spiders. Wolf spiders do not have venom to hurt you. I just think they're too bold, and I've had too many just run straight at me, and they freak me out. Because, I mean, like I said, I keep tarantulas. They don't bother me. Wolf spiders creep me out. They are too bold, and they're not aggressive, but they do run towards you. And it's something that shouldn't scare me, but at the same time, nope.
yeah, so it's totally okay to be scared, but it's a different thing if you're out there actively killing and harming these animals for no reason. It's not their fault that you're scared of them, and it's about respect, right? It's about learning how to deal with it and not attacking it. It's totally fine to be scared. I know of people who are scared of all sorts of things, sorts of animals, and they just are like, "You know what? I don't like snakes. I'm not a snake guy. Don't bring one in my house." But I respect them. It's fine. I don't have to go kill one just because I see it. I know it's not gonna hurt me. I just don't not my deal. Totally fine. That is exactly what you should do. And in Arizona, and I know for sure in India, I'm sure in no, and Africa for sure, 100% I know those. I bet large amounts of money they have it in Australia too, like hotspots of venomous snakes. There's hotlines you can call, and trained professionals will come safely remove snakes and release them back into the wild.
Hmm.
It's so a bit of training I've actually done a little bit, and, like, technically, I could volunteer to help out with Phoenix Herpetological Sanctuary to do that. I don't just because it's doesn't make sense for me right now to be able to volunteer all that time and stuff for somewhere that far away, but it's not that hard, and there are people who their whole job is doing that, and same goes for all sorts of things. So you don't have to be s you can be scared, it's fine being scared, but respect is where you need to have, learn about it, learn how to avoid it, be safe, and just respect the animals. They live in this earth just like you do.
Yeah, I mean, just like we were been saying, if you leave them alone, they're really not going to bother you. Most wild animals are way more terrified of you than you are of them, um, and they're more than likely going to run away and try and get away from you. long before they ever try and fight you or bite you or venomate you or anything like that. As long as you're respecting them and giving them the respect they deserve, you're gonna be okay. You're not gonna get hurt. Um, and don't go out there killing animals, because the other thing too is a lot of people misidentify. Um, like the best example I can think of is like water snakes. I've seen so many videos and clips of people being like, "Oh, I killed this cottonmouth or this copperhead." It's like, nope, that was a non-venomous water snake that
Mm.
you killed because you thought it was a copperhead or cottonmouth.
Yeah, and then call back to the very beginning too. Almost all venomous snake bites happen when somebody is trying to kill the snake. So the very thing that you were trying to avoid happened because
You were trying to
you
kill it.
you were trying to avoid that. It would never even happen. You could have just totally left it alone and both of you would have been on with your day. But instead, you let your fear affect you and you felt the need to kill this snake. Now your fears have been realized. So just leave them alone. Animals don't really want anything to do with you. And really, you don't want anything to do with animals either in general.
Yep.
You're like, yeah, I respect you're dangerous. I respect that you're scary. I'm dangerous and scary too. Humans are actually the most dangerous and scary animals. We
Oh yeah.
kill things all the time. Most animals know that. We invented weapons. Most animals know that too. We're, we're staying clear of each other. We don't want to fight. Best fight is one that nobody gets in, and that's it. Like, even in humans, like you get in a fight, even if you totally obliterate the guy you're fighting, chances are you busted up your hand a bit on their head, and they probably landed a shot or two, maybe broke your nose, give you a black eye. Like fights are no good. Don't get in them.
And also, with it, if you get into a fight with an animal, they're expensive. Like best example I can think of, there was a person at my work who was visiting, grabbed a copperhead for stupid reasons, got bit on the forearm, had to go to the hospital, had to get anti-venom. Anti-venom is about $10,000 a vial, and that's for the cheap stuff.
Yeah.
And
That,
normally, if you're having to get anti-venom, you're having to get more than one vial, depending on the species and depending on the severity of the bite and stuff, obviously. But
but I've heard of
that's
up to like 40 vials, which in my opinion, I'm not a doctor, but is too much. But your wallet doesn't care about that.
that's $400,000 sitting right there for you.
Yeah, it's it's quite expensive, and you can just avoid that. You don't need to do that.
By not
I
messing
heard
with it.
somebody say a venomous snake bite is a mandatory. You have to think about it as a mandatory $100,000 to life sentence.
Hmm.
So that's just something that you need to be aware of and be conscious of. And this was in the context of keeping them as pets, which not going to recommend, but at the same time, if you're properly trained and you follow your protocols, isn't all that dangerous. But that was the context of that was there. So understand if you're gonna go be like, I'm gonna go bust out the shovel and go harass this snake, are you willing to pay $100,000 to life sentence if you mess
Hmm.
up just a little bit? Or would you let him evict himself on his own? He'll find out that your house isn't all that great, and he'll go slither away back into a bush.
That, or call somebody who's actually professionally trained to come remove it.
Yeah, let the professionals assume your $100,000 to life sentence on their own,
Mhm.
because they will, and they'll be willing to. So venomous snakes are our biggest topic of the day because I feel like they're the most feared and they're the most hated too. Like people do not like snakes. And they
Yeah.
they take it personally. They want to go handle it themselves when they see a snake.
Yeah.
I feel like people are more likely to run away from all the other ones we talked about, but for some reason people love to run towards snakes and there's a lot of myths about them too. So, little Halloween episode for you guys. Just talking about some spooky stuff because, why not? I like these themed special ones too. Might as well make fun of the holidays.
Hmm.
So, any closing remarks, Alex, for us? Or
None that I can think of off the top of my head, other than hope everyone had a good Halloween. I know this is coming out the day after, so I hope everyone has had a good Halloween. Got lots of candy. Hopefully, didn't get into too much trouble.
Yeah, same here. Happy holidays, guys. Especially as we get into the next ones, we'll try to come up with some fun topics for Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that stuff too. Maybe
Hmm.
New Year's, we'll do new species, New Year's, and we'll talk about a couple recently discovered or described species, something like that. So
Yeah.
have a good day. Made it this far. Like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good one, guys.